Hi there, this is Brenda with Keenan Kreations, and I wanted to show you this quick and easy card using the new Butterfly Thinlits dies. This little Butterfly Thinlits die makes great embellishments for your cards, and if you're like me and have a lot of these designer series papers, it's a great way to use them up. To get started, we're going to use a piece of gold soiree designer series paper, and this measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. We're going to die cut the medium-sized butterfly using the magnetic platform and the Big Shot. A cutting pad on the bottom, your paper or cardstock. We're going to add wax paper and the framelit, and I'm going to angle this a little bit, making sure that I leave room for the greeting over here, and then you're going to place another cutting pad on top. Now these butterfly thinlits have a lot of detail, so I like to go back and forth 2 or 3 times. So we'll just run this through. And you can hear that little click. That means it's gotten through on this side. So I'm just going to go back the other way. And I heard that click again. I'm going to go one more time. Now when you lift up the paper, you can turn it over and you can see some of these little pieces have already started to fall out. But I like to just double check and just do a quick look and make sure everything is die cut nice and neat. If not, I would run it through one more time. So once you've die cut it, there's these tiny little holes along the outside and kind of in the center. If you poke those, you'll see that the paper will start to release, and then you can simply pull that off. Now you'll end up with this little wax paper butterfly too, and some people like to save that, and they can also add that as a layer on their card. So once this is die cut, they really do drop out fairly easily. You could use a pokey tool to help them release, but you can see with me just gently, well, until I got to this side, they were gently falling out. I might have to tug a couple of these. Oh, you know what? See right there? They didn't quite die cut all the way through, so this guy might have to go back through. You're going to go back to your framelit. You will be able to just slide it right in, and you're going to feel that it kind of catches right inside there, and you're going to die cut that. So I know that it's right here on this side, so I just kind of move that to make sure it's in the right spot, and I'm just going to run it through just a little bit because I just want these little guys right here to pop out. And then I'm just going to go back again. And then now you can see that they've actually already fallen out on here. So then these little holes in the center, if you just poke that, that's going to help that to release. So we're going to adhere this piece to the front of our card, and our cardstock is garden green, and this is your standard card size, 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored down the middle at 4 1/4. So turn this over, add adhesive around all the edges, and a little bit right there in the center. And then I like to hold this up and set this down. So I'm looking at the bottom and the 2 sides, and if those are even, most likely this side is going to be even as well. But see how you can kind of set it down before you actually press it down? So you could place this butterfly right back inside the opening, but I want to have a butterfly of a different color, and I'm going to use this one on the inside of my card. Now I've already die cut a butterfly with the gold foil paper, but I wanted to point out a couple of things. If your cutting pads are really scratched up like mine, sometimes that will leave an impression in the gold cardstock when you're running it through the Big Shot. So if you will add a layer of wax paper that covers the entire piece, that will protect those little scratches from transferring to the gold foil paper. Go straight to the center holes, and that will pop out your butterfly. Sometimes when you die cut with these little thinlits that have a lot of detail, you'll see some paper that remains inside the little spots there, make sure that you poke those out before you die cut it again. I think that might have been why my first butterfly had some little pieces that didn't cut all the way through. So you don't want these guys to build up in there. You want to make sure you get all of that out. So we're going to add him right to the center, and we're going to use glue dots in the body of the butterfly. So I'm just going to place this on top of the glue dots to make sure they're nice and hidden. Well, actually, before I lay it down, we're going to add some tiny little slivers of dimensionals right here on the back. So use the pieces around the edges and cut just a really skinny piece. And then you can use either the pokey tool or the end of your scissors to help kind of grab that. And then I just want to place it right here. You want to make sure it doesn't poke out, because you don't want to see that on the other side. This is going to keep those wings from laying flat. I'm going to leave the paper backing on the dimensionals. So now you can just line this little guy right back up and press that down. So you can see those wings will not lay flat. Now I've already die cut a greeting using garden green ink, and I want to use this framelit. And you can see that it's bigger than what I need. So after I run this through the Big Shot, I'm just going to use my paper trimmer and trim the end off here. Now I want to show you something with these little skinny framelits. Sometimes they can kind of scoot around on you, even though you're using the magnetic platform. And a couple of things are happening. So your plate sometimes will get a little bit of a curve to it. So if you have this down and you can press it down and it pops back up, you need to flip it over. You want this plate to be as close to the magnetic platform as possible, and if you've got that curve in there, you're going to have to turn it over. The other thing is, these magnets are actually circles, and they're about 1 inch apart. The whole thing is not a magnet, so you have all these little circle magnets up and down this platform. And what happens with these skinny framelits is it wants to jump towards a magnet. So if you set this down, see how it wants to stay right there? So if you find that the framelit jumps, let the framelit move where it wants to go and just readjust your paper. And then when you set this in, just tuck it in. Don't slide it over the paper, just tuck it in, set it down, and then I like to press my thumb here to make sure I'm pushing down on that framelit before I run it through the Big Shot. So I just cut off the end of the greeting to make it fit better on the card, and we're going to add dimensionals to the back. And I want this to go all the way to the right. And then we're going to add this butterfly to the inside of the card. Now this butterfly is going this way, so on the inside. I'm going to have this one going this way, right at the top here. This is Whisper White cardstock, and it's 5 1/4 by 4. Add your tape around all the edges. And the butterfly's on this side, so I want this strip of paper to be on the other side. And again, just center that right in the middle. And then you have a pretty card on the outside and also one on the inside. Now since I'm going to place this card in the mail, I need my envelope to be nice and flat, so I'm going to stamp a couple of images on the outside. The butterfly thinlits also coordinate with the stamp set called Butterfly Basics. Now when you're using the photopolymer stamps, you'll notice there's no foam backing. That way you can see directly through the stamp, which is great for placement, but not so great for inking it up. So it's a lot easier to get excess ink on your acrylic block. So the trick is to tap, tap, no mashing. So just tap lightly. And you can see there's no ink on the block. So I'm just going to add a couple of little images here. And I'm not going to re-ink it. The other thing about photopolymer stamps, you'll see from this one, is that they can stain if you use colors with red in it. So any pinks, orange, browns, and reds are going to stain your photopolymer. It doesn't affect how they stamp though, so don't let that upset you. And I'm going to use Calypso Coral. And And I'm going to place this guy right about here. I hope you enjoyed today's project. For more ideas, please visit me at KeenanCreations.com. I'll show you some other cards that we've done using a similar layout. You can vary your papers and the orientation of the card, but you can see how these are very fun to create and a great way to use up your excess designer series paper. Thanks and have a great day.